How to choose between SharePoint, Power Apps, and custom .NET for intranet portals. Welcome back. Today's topic is how to choose between SharePoint, Power Apps, and custom .NET for intranet portals. We'll cover what you actually need to know about custom Power Apps development. Now, why the intranet platform decision is harder than it looks. Intranet portals look simple on paper. A home page, some news, document libraries, a few forms, maybe a directory. But the moment you scratch the surface, the requirements multiply: single sign-on, mobile access, workflow approvals, integrations with HRIS and ERP, audit trails for compliance, and a way for non-developers to extend the thing without breaking it. The wrong platform turns each of those requirements into a 6-month project. The right one turns them into a 2-week sprint. For Microsoft-aligned organizations, the realistic shortlist is SharePoint Online, the Power Platform, and custom .NET on Azure. We see other options floated, like Confluence or a SaaS intranet product, but for companies already on Microsoft 365, the question almost always narrows to these three. Now, SharePoint Online, when it wins and when it hurts. SharePoint is the default intranet for a reason. If you have Microsoft 365, you already own it, and modern SharePoint Online with communication sites and hub sites covers 70% of what most companies call an intranet. SharePoint wins when the portal is content first: news, policy libraries, departmental sites, document collaboration, and search. The modern experience is responsive, integrates natively with Teams, and supports decent branding through SPFX extensions. For a 500-person company that needs a news hub and a place to find HR policies, SharePoint is hard to beat on time to value. The pain begins when you need real applications inside the portal. SharePoint lists are not a database. Once you push past 5,000 items, view performance degrades, and complex relational data becomes painful. Custom workflows beyond simple approvals require Power Automate anyway, and heavy JavaScript customization through SPFX is a maintenance burden few teams sustain. Next up, let's talk about when Power Apps and the Power Platform are the right choice. Power Apps shines when the portal is application first rather than content first. Think of scenarios like a logistics dispatcher dashboard, a clinical trial enrollment form, a compliance attestation workflow, or a credit memo approval queue. These are interactive, data-heavy, role-based experiences that SharePoint cannot deliver cleanly. Custom Power Apps development gives you a low-code surface that connects to dataverse, SQL, SAP, Salesforce, and roughly 1,000 other connectors out of the box. For a regulated industry client we recently helped, a Power Apps Canvas app replaced a 12-year-old Access database for vendor onboarding. The build took 6 weeks. The equivalent .NET rewrite quoted by another vendor was 8 months. For a real example of how fast this moves, see our write-up on how we built a leave management app in 3 days. Let's talk about when custom .NET is still the right answer. Low-code is not always the answer, and pretending otherwise leads to expensive rework. Custom .NET on Azure still wins for a specific set of intranet scenarios. If your portal needs to handle 50,000 concurrent users, process millions of transactions per day, or run computation-heavy logic like rating engines, claims adjudication, or real-time fraud scoring, Power Platform will hit governance and throughput limits. A well-architected .NET solution with proper microservices boundaries handles this gracefully. Our .NET Microservices Architecture Guide covers the patterns we use for portals at this scale. When the portal must integrate with HL7 feeds, Swift messaging, EDI, mainframe systems, or custom hardware, .NET gives you the libraries and control you need. Power Platform connectors cover the common cases, but the edge cases are where projects die. Let's talk about moving on to how to choose, a practical decision framework. Here is the framework we walk clients through in the first discovery workshop. It cuts through the marketing noise and gets to a defensible recommendation in about 2 hours. Power Platform without governance becomes shadow IT Power Platform sprawl within 18 months. If your IT team cannot commit to environment strategy, DLP policies, and a Power Platform center of excellence, scale back the citizen developer ambition or pick SharePoint plus a few centrally owned apps instead. Power Apps per app and per user licensing adds up faster than buyers expect. Custom .NET has higher upfront cost but predictable Azure consumption. SharePoint is essentially free if you already have Microsoft 365 E3 or E5. Our custom Power Apps cost guide breaks down the licensing math. Next up, let's talk about Power Platform governance, the make or break layer. The single biggest reason Power Platform intranet projects fail is not technical, it is governance. Power Platform governance prevents shadow IT through DLP policies, environment strategies, and approval workflows. Skip this layer and you will be cleaning up orphan apps and data leaks for years. Q Services implements Power Platform Center of Excellence using Microsoft's COE toolkit, then layers on the policies and review boards that the toolkit alone does not provide. The 5-phase COE build-out covers environment design, DLP, ALM, citizen developer enablement, and metrics. Citizen developer programs need governance guardrails to prevent data silos and compliance gaps. The goal is not to block business users from building, it is to give them safe sandboxes, approved connectors, and a clear path to promote successful apps into managed environments. Our governance framework article walks through the 6 pillars. Let's talk about next up, dataverse consulting and the data layer decision. The platform choice cascades into a data layer choice. Dataverse consulting engagements often reveal that the data model is the real bottleneck, not the UI. Dataverse gives you a managed, relational, secure data platform with row-level security, auditing, and built-in connectors. For most Power App-centric intranets, Dataverse is the default. It is the right answer when you have multiple apps sharing data, need role-based security at the row level, or want to leverage Microsoft Copilot features. For simple list-based scenarios under 5,000 items per list, SharePoint lists are free and adequate. For high-volume transactional data or when you already have an Azure SQL estate, SQL with a Power Apps front-end gives you better performance and lower per-record cost. The trade-off is more developer work and less out-of-the-box security. Let's talk about now, real-world examples from regulated industries. Abstract frameworks are useful, but concrete examples are clearer. Here are 3 patterns we have shipped in the last year. A mid-size hospital network needed a single portal for shift scheduling, credential tracking, and incident reporting. We built SharePoint communication sites for policies and news, Power Apps model-driven for credential tracking, and Power Automate flows for incident escalations. Total build, 14 weeks. The HITL governance approach ensured every AI-suggested workflow had human approval before going live. A regional carrier needed real-time order visibility for dispatchers and a driver app for proof of delivery. SharePoint was wrong for the dispatcher view, so we used Power Apps model-driven for dispatch and a Canvas app for drivers, all backed by Dataverse with Azure SQL for the high-volume telemetry. The logistics platform rebuild story covers the architecture. Next up, now, Power BI and the reporting layer. No intranet conversation is complete without analytics. Power BI consulting services almost always become part of the project scope, because every department wants dashboards embedded in the portal. Power BI dashboard development for intranets typically means embedded reports inside SharePoint pages or Power Apps screens, with row-level security tied to Azure AD. For the comparison against Tableau, our Power BI versus Tableau guide covers the decision factors for Microsoft-aligned shops. The biggest Power BI mistake we see is letting every team build their own version of the same metric. A governed semantic model in Power BI, owned by a small data team, prevents the 3 versions of revenue problem that erodes trust in the portal. Next up, a Power Platform development company versus a .NET shop, who to hire. The platform choice also determines the partner profile. A Power Platform development company brings low-code architects, Dataverse modelers, and COE specialists. A traditional .NET shop brings back-end engineers, DevOps, and Azure architects. Some firms, ours included, do both, which matters because hybrid portals are now the norm. Ask for a COE deployment they have run end-to-end, not just a Power App they have built. Ask about Power Platform ALM pipelines, environment strategy, and how they prevent shadow IT Power Platform sprawl. For the .NET side, the .NET Buyer's Guide covers the evaluation criteria. Vendors who recommend a single platform before understanding your requirements are selling, not consulting. Vendors who cannot show their delivery metrics openly are hiding something. We wrote about why we publish our delivery metrics and why every vendor should. Let's talk about conclusion. The SharePoint versus Power Apps versus custom .NET decision for intranet portals comes down to 3 honest questions. is this portal content first or workflow first? How mature is your governance? And how unique is the domain logic? For most mid-market companies, the answer is a hybrid: SharePoint for content, custom Power Apps development for workflows, and custom .NET reserved for the high-scale or deeply integrated components. Get the governance layer right with a Power Platform Center of Excellence, invest in Power Platform ALM from day one, and treat citizen developer governance as a feature, not a bureaucratic obstacle. If you are about to start an intranet project and want a second opinion on the platform mix, our team runs a free 2-hour discovery workshop that produces a defensible recommendation, a rough cost range, and a 90-day delivery plan. Reach out and we will get you on the calendar this week.